and welcome. Yes, the quantum of Christ. It is interesting. And I do believe that this is really what Christ was sharing with us. And when he encouraged and coaxed and coached and mentored us, that all this and more ye shall do. I think he was encouraging us to move into that quantum mind, trusting and knowing that thoughts in mind show up in kind. In other words, what we think, what we imagine, what we hold in our heart, what we add our willpower and emotional fire to is manifest. I want to start by telling a little tale of this woman who lived in Elmira, New York, upstate New York, in the early 60s. Her name was Jane Roberts. Has anyone heard of Jane Roberts? And no. All right, good. So that means I can share something new with everybody. So Jane Roberts was a poet. She lived with her husband, Robert Butts. They lived in Elmira, upstate New York. And she was very committed to writing. She was tuned into that creative process. She would sit at her desk every evening and write poetry. And one evening she sat down to write and thought she had fallen asleep. And then woke up and realized that she had 20-some pages of written material. And the title of what she had written was, she wrote a title. And the title said, or something had written a title through her, said, Idea Construction. The physical universe as idea construction. She looked at the title and thought, that's very interesting. And ultimately what happened as she began to, her and her husband began to, look at what the heck has happened here. They tried to invite the energy in again. They actually used a Ouija board, and she began to get messages through the Ouija board, and very quickly she threw the Ouija board away and began to go into a trance state and speak for this entity who called himself Sept, and his really main teaching was that we create our own reality. And I really look at the Sept material as very pivotal to what we now call the New Age movement. Of course, Unity is the New Thought movement, which was way back at the turn of the century and was really quite revolutionary. And it's really very much what our two founders, the Fillmores, shared with us, was the idea that ask and ye shall receive. The kingdom of heaven is within. So, some of the main tenets of this, the physical universe as idea construction, was, number one, energy is the basis of the universe. Ideas are mental transformations by an entity into the physical universe, and an entity could be a personality, a person, and that idea constructions are the transformation of ideas into physical form. And if you study the Unity teachings, they talk about the divine idea, and how the divine idea is the substance, the invisible energy that we use to bring physical form into manifestation. And what Myrtle and Charles wanted to teach us, which I believe is what Jesus wanted to teach us, that we can consciously create our world, our universe, through going within, where we went at the beginning, and that's why I invite people to always try to get here for the meditation, because that's the experience of connecting with that divine manifesting part of us. You make your own reality. This is Sept speaking. You make your own reality. There is no other rule. Knowing this is the secret of creativity. And I was impressed, as I always am at the beginning of the service, with Marvin and the amazing music that he creates. And what I loved was him trying to get through, is that one you tried to play, you didn't quite make it through.
The first one. Yes. It's Chopin.
Chopin, it is, I thought it was Chopin. So, and we could all feel that, right? He played those beautiful chords, and then all of a sudden, boom, that's not it. Reminded me of the emotional center, which is one of our guidance systems that we've talked a lot about the past few months here. Being able and willing to listen to that guidance center and detach it from our story. And of course, the music was such a great example. He got to that certain point, we could all feel, oh, that's not right. You don't need to be a musician to know that he had pressed that wrong chord. And he went and started again, and I'm not. He played it again. Oh, that's the right chord, that's the right chord. It was a little bit closer, but not quite there, right? And that's what musicians do. It's a beautiful form of creation, a beautiful example. They find the wrong ones, adjust, get a little bit better until we say, ah, that's the right one. And isn't that what we do, hopefully, in our lives? We move forward, this doesn't feel right. We step back and we try it again. We try different pieces. We try, if it's a person we're dealing with, we try expressing ourselves in a little bit different way. Did that feel right? Did that feel wrong? Sometimes we detach and we say, no, it's better just not to deal with them. We go back. Sometimes, as a musician, we don't just try another chord, we go back to see what's written down. Or if you're a composer, as they talked about with Beethoven, who became deaf, he could not hear it in the outside, but he was living in the quantum field. That's where he created. He heard the music first. We hear Mozart talk about that, and many great creative artists. It comes to them through the quantum field, through the mind, through that invisible place of imagination. And then they create it in the world. And that's what Jesus was talking about when he said, all this and more ye shall do. Ask and ye shall receive. What do you want? What do you tune into with that quantum field? And then allow that to move into reality. I'm not a quantum physicist, so I won't pretend to know all the, the formulas and things that go into quantum physics, but what I do understand that one of the major breakthroughs that they came up with in this past century in doing quantum physics, which is going to the smaller and smaller and smaller pieces of reality, where this physical world comes from, they realized that the consciousness of the observer affects the objects on a quantum level. So the cells, the neutrons, the protons, whatever those tons are, all those little things, the quarks and the quicks and all that stuff, that at that tiniest level, it's our thoughts, our feelings, our consciousness that affects it. So what they're telling us is that consciousness creates matter. And if that's true, then the way we become the quantum Christ, or the creator of our own reality, is, well, let me put it this way, this is even better. The way we create the reality we want is by becoming conscious creators. Because if consciousness creates reality, we're creating it whether we realize it or not. And so when things keep showing up in our life and we go, oh my God, why is this happening to me again? This is wrong, this can't be happening. At the meditation we did at the beginning, I talked about moving into that place and guided you to that still small place inside through the breath, which is one of the best ways to just be present and experience that invisible energy flowing through us. And then I invited everyone to use the mantra of yes with each inhale and with each exhale. I love that practice as a meditation because ultimately it's affirming and practicing our number one unity teaching. One presence, one power, active in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotent. So we're trusting that whatever's showing up is good. And if we have that emotional reaction, this isn't the right way, then what do? If you're a musician, you look at what you're playing that's incorrect, and you say, oh, okay. You consciously feel it, which is what I've been inviting you to do. Feel the feeling first, and then allow it to lead you to what's next. Oh, this finger isn't quite right, this needs to be here. So that's what we do as Unity students, as conscious creators, as the quantum Christ. We come in our life and what's been manifested out there as a mirror of what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what we're putting out there. And first we have to be willing to feel it. So much of us, we react to life rather than respond. And that's an important thing that I want to talk about. If you're reacting to life, you're not willing to listen to your causal point, who you are, and what's going on with you. So you need to feel your feelings first without judgment. The reason things keep showing up, we say, why is this happening again? Because a feeling will cause a reaction that's based on the past very often, some past thing that didn't work. We project it out into the future and we create that same thing. So what we want to do is to begin to become conscious that we are the creator and that we create through our thoughts and feelings. So when you find something going on in the outside world that's triggering a feeling that's triggering an old thought pattern, why is this happening again? This is just like that old boss who treated me this way and didn't respect me. Or, oh good, it went right in the basket. So what you want to do first is go to the feeling. Notice what you're putting into this. What have you done to create this situation? It's not about blaming ourselves, because that's the old story. Letting go of judgment. Letting go that anything's wrong, it's just what is. And what's the lesson there? So, faith, thought, and feeling I have written down here. So those are our tools. Thoughts and feelings are the things we use to create this world. The missing ingredient for me, and the one that all the spiritual teachings share with us, is faith. And faith is like substance. It's always there. There's no adding more or no taking more away. Question is, where do we put our faith? Do we have faith in things going wrong, things never working out for us, I'm not good enough? What are the stories that we put our faith in? Or do we have faith in God the good, omnipotent, one power and one presence? If we have faith in that, we're never judging anything that's happening as wrong. We're able to see it as a mirror of what's going on, of what we're putting out there. If thoughts and feelings are manifesting tools, then does it make sense just to try to fix what's out there if we don't go to our feelings and thoughts first? No. And how many of us, and I'm included, it's like we get triggered, something happens, I go, oh my God, this brings it up, and I immediately go to trying to fix it. Christ said, go within. Talk to the Father, which actually the Father or the Mother is that connection. The Father is, I like to think of it as the thoughts. The Mother is the emotions, this emotional center. Go to those two parts of us and listen. Breathe into them. Be with them. Come into a gentle balance within yourself, and then you act. Then you respond rather than reacting. Reactions generally create more of the same and create more karma. They put more power out there. Responding means you've come from that causal place. And I know for me, it's that old saying, before you react, count to 10. I say before I react, if my buttons get pushed, that's my chance, and I've shared this with you before, from the presence process, which we're going to share some from that in a moment. You thank the messenger. Someone pushes your button, you thank the messenger. What I always add is don't thank them out loud, because it will come out sarcastic and you're going to start a fight. You thank them in your mind, and then you say, I need to have a little time alone. that alone is not easy. I will share with you, when I've done that many times, that other voice that comes up and says, how can you just walk away? You're letting that other person walk all over you. You're not standing up for yourself. That voice that wants to puff you up. It's that ego that needs to be right, that needs to get that person back because they pushed your button. But by doing it, I've been able to own that what they pushed was there all along. They have just invited me to look at it and get clear of what thoughts and stories is triggering that emotion, or what that emotion, what stories it's triggering. There's this balance that goes on between the thoughts and the feelings, and if we're reacting, it's an imbalance. We're moving at life unconsciously as the victim. Know if you're in blame or guilt or shame, there's an imbalance there. To go in and come to conscious understanding with yourself. Give yourself the space and the love and the nurturing that we often feel we need to get from somebody else. So, Michael Brown in the Presence Process talks about the difference between responding and reacting. Embracing physical presence is the first step we take towards accomplishing a permanent shift from reactive to responsive behavior. And I'm going to say that his, when he says embracing physical presence, it's just about being present. It's about being willing to notice what's going on in me. Not out there, but in me, right here and now. In the present, the highest application of our physical body is as a focal point for consciously anchoring the full capacity of presence in the world. Do we get that, how important our physical body is? We talked about in the opening meditation how easy it is to be lost in the past, thinking about what you should have said to that person yesterday, and then focused in the future, what you're going to say to them tomorrow. I mean, I have spent hours and hours in these scenarios in my head. How much of life do we miss when we do that? So our body is the highest application of conscious awareness in this moment. I'm going to read it exactly as he says. In the present, the highest application of our physical body is as a focal point for consciously anchoring the full capacity of presence in the world. So that's being, how do we quantumly create the world we want? By being present in the body with our feelings and our mind. And the Unity teachings and Christ's teachings is that we go there, we detach from the outside world, and with our thoughts and feelings, rather than trying to figure out how to fix something out there, we become the creator, like Beethoven, or like the great teachers of the past, like Einstein, who said the imagination is where he got his he said the intellect is fine, but the imagination, and I'm not quoting him directly, the imagination is 90% of it. So we go in there and we imagine what we want. And how do we imagine what we want? How do we choose? We imagine that thing that gives us the good feeling. It's these two things together. Don't forget the feeling center, and we'll get to that quote in a minute. That is where your willpower is. That is our manifesting organ. Because it's in the physical body. It's these lower chakras. It's also where the baby grows. The physical child grows inside the mother's belly. These two lower centers. So they're very powerful centers. So very often we try to use the mental capacity to try to avoid or deny the feelings. That's not the work. So, life in the body is an opportunity for us to achieve present moment awareness, to show up in this experience. To accomplish this, the mental and emotional bodies also require alignment with their highest application. The highest application of the mental body is when it serves to navigate the focus of our attention, while the highest application of the emotional body is when it fuels the momentum of our intent. So, are we focusing our attention on what we don't want, on what has just pushed our button and what we need to fix out there? Or are we focusing our attention on how we feel and what we do want? And focusing that energy out there. The mental body is the navigation system of our capacity for being. And the emotional body is the fuel tank containing the various emotions, rather like different grades of fuel intended to activate varying intensities of movement. So that's it. And how often do we allow those two parts of us to fight with each other? I have a bad feeling. So I try to go up in my head and try to think of some way to, some solution to, either get back at that person or whatever. Oh, then I feel better. But then I think, well, what if they come back and say that? Generally, even if I don't think that, they do come back and push the button again. So the way to get these two energies to work together is to allow ourselves to take responsibility for our feelings, breathe into them, not try to project them out there, not to allow them to be the reactive point that makes us run around like a chicken with our head cut off trying to fix something out there so we can feel better. It's just being with the feeling long enough for it to, as Michael Brown says, for it to neutralize. It means we take care of our own feelings. Probably what needed to happen when we were children at certain traumatic points, and our parents just did not have the tools or the ability to be able to do that. And so we lovingly parent ourselves. Allow us to have the feelings. Not to try to fix the outside thing so then we feel better, to allow ourselves to be with it. It's like when you say, when I was with my nephew, my nieces and nephew, and I saw how they reacted with their parents, and I thought, oh, I know better. And it's easy to know better when you only have the kids for an hour. Let me just say that. But I remember I said to the kids, you can have an ice cream cone or a toy, which would you want? And they both wanted an ice cream cone. But then my niece said, oh no, she decided she wanted a toy. So Malcolm got the ice cream cone, then we went to the toy store, we got the toy. And when Malcolm realized he'd already had his ice cream cone and he couldn't have the toy, he started crying. And I'd seen it work again and again and again with my brother and sister-in-law. My sister and brother-in-law. But I said, no, you're not going to have the toy. And he was like, cried. And so I sat down next to him with no intention of giving him the toy and said, I know, doesn't that suck when you can't get your toy? And I put him in my lap, and he saw immediately that I was going to sit with him as long as he needed to cry, but he wasn't going to get the toy. And he cried for a couple more big cries. Then he stopped, dried his eyes, and it was over. It never happened again with him. So it was creating a new way of being. It's a new energy. I'm not sure exactly how this fits in with this, but I think it does. It's about honoring the feelings, and really that we can do that for ourselves. We can do that for ourselves, and it's coming to that point where, oh, I want this right now, I want this person to be this way, but they don't want to be this way, so it's sitting, for me, with that feeling, recognizing that it's my irritation, it's my feeling, and saying, you know what? And I've had this realization a number of times, that person isn't always going to do what I want them to. And once I sit with it, I understand, because lots of times I'll have the chance to put myself in their position. Oh, they don't want to do that because whatever the reason is, and that's okay. And sometimes it even gives me the download from spirit, because that's what happens when you sit with these two energies in silence without having an agenda of having to fix. It opens you to the quantum Christ, that inner connection. And I can see, oh, well, this is what I want. They didn't want to give it to me right now, but is there another way that I can explain to them, what it is? There's a balance that comes in. I don't always get what I want, as another great mind of the 20th century said, but I get what I need. And who am I quoting there? Mick Jagger, that great mind. You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you get what you need. I think we always get what we need. Sometimes we just don't realize it. So what I want to do now is quote, because we were talking about the energy centers, and we talk about them a lot just because my basic learning was yoga and being in the body, and my body is a wonderful spiritual tool. In a lot of early religions, and I think misunderstanding of the religious teachings, we're taught that the body isn't spiritual, that the idea is to get somewhere out there and deny the body. The body is spirit. It is a manifestation of spirit, and it has all these energies flowing through it. So I'm going to read from this book, An Angel Called My Name by Jyoti, and it's a wonderful experience really of her Kundalini awakening, this energy that flowed through her body. And this has to do with the Lord's Prayer, the quantum Christ, creating your own reality. She says, talking about the Hindus, teach us that the first three lower chakras are the hell zones. And I'm going to change that and just put the physical zones. But we all know that in Unity, we don't believe in hell. We don't believe that there's some place we're sent to be punished. We believe that the hell, or the difficulties or the struggles we experience in this physical body, are because of a self-imposed sense of separation from spirit or from that quantum Christ. Basically, in Unity, we believe it's a separation from ourself, our authentic self, trying to be something that we truly are not. And owning that we are spirit is what allows us to move out of that hell. The Hindus teach that the first three lower chakras are the hell zones and work with our instinctual nature. The upper chakras, beginning with the heart, and represent the heavens. Moving from your third chakra, the power center located in the solar plexus, where the feelings are, to the fourth chakra, the heart center, the place of truth, is an enormous leap in consciousness. And it's a leap in faith. I think what Jyoti's talking about there is separating from the identification with the physical world and trying to fix the effect rather than going to the cause. The leap of faith from moving to the solar plexus into the heart is the Lord's Prayer. It's really what Christ was teaching us at the Sermon on the Mount. He says, when you pray, pray like this. Our Father who art in heaven, the kingdom of heaven is within, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. So he's saying, move into the heart. Breathe your discomfort or whatever's going on in your solar plexus into your heart center until you come into a place of peace. And then visualize, decide, imagine what you want. Ask and ye shall receive. And Christ constantly encourages us to ask for it all. Ask for the big thing. All this and more is yours. And so we come into the heart with faith. Trust that God the Father is just waiting for us to ask in faith, believing it is so. And this is what the quantum scientists are telling us to do and encouraging us to do through their understanding. Visualize, focus on what you want. If there's discomfort or disharmony in your life, go into that peaceful place within and just feel the peace. And imagine that spreading out into your world. It's the highest form of prayer according to Unity. Prayer isn't just saying, oh, please do this for me. It's not a beseeching. It's being in that energy, visualizing what you want, and then knowing it is so. And then when you step into your world and you see, oh my God, my bank account is still low, go not closing and saying, oh, it doesn't work, by saying, oh, that's what those numbers say, but I know Christ the Spirit is moving through me. It's giving thanks and being grateful for all the things we already have and building on those. It's not focusing on the negative. It is as simple as saying this glass is not half empty or half full. This glass is an infinite substance of faith and trust when I realize that I am the creator, co-creating with that divine invisible spirit. I mean, we certainly feel it all around us in this invisible. We think nothing's here, right? But you take a breath or hold your breath for a moment and you're going to go right out of the body unless you breathe. This invisible substance all around us is life, is consciousness, and it connects us all. It's what everything is manifested out of. So the conscious or quantum Christ trusts that, knows that, breathes into life what we want. And if our buttons get pushed and suddenly we've got all this energy, this anger, this frustration, this stuff, we choose that it's pure energy. We decide not to attach it to the old frustration and project something out there into the world or put more energy into what we think is pushing that button. That energy that's coming up, it's our quantum Christ coming up and saying, if you don't like this, what's out there, think of something new, create something different. How would you like things to go? Breathe into that energy, because this is our fuel source, as Michael Brown told us. This is our different grades of fuel. Anger is a powerful energy. Fear is a powerful energy. Fear, very quickly and easily, with faith, can be turned to excitement. With faith and the creative imagination, can be turned into excitement. You know, how often do we have fear about some projected thing? Oh my God, we get a bill that's much bigger than we thought. Oh my God, I can't pay it. Instead of saying, oh my God, the universe is asking me to bring more abundance in. It happened with my darn ticket that I got coming up here a couple of months ago. I thought, I still have not paid it. It's on I called up and got it. $455 for a speeding ticket. And guess what? A couple of weeks ago, driving up here, I was able to have gratitude for that ticket. Number one, it was the universe saying, hey, you can afford it. You know, it's just a number. And the other gratitude that came up as I drove through this beautiful wine country and entered Ukiah, I thought, you know, where's that money going? Oh, it's going to the city of Ukiah. And guess what? This city has given, and these people in it, and this community, has given me the wonderful opportunity to stand up here, share my truth with you, feel your love, be part of this community. So I'm glad to give that $455 to this community. And when I do, I'm doing it as the quantum Christ, not going to be doing it begrudgingly and, oh, those darn people, oh. Here it is. Wow, what a shift and what a change. And that's the quantum Christ. So, I said everything I need to. That's last week's sermon. Here we go. So yeah, I really wanted to end with the Lord's Prayer and to really call him that that's what he's telling us. On earth as it is in heaven. The kingdom of heaven is within. Our imagination is our tool to connect with our thoughts and feelings and faith that all things are possible with God. And where are you putting your faith on? Are you putting your faith in things not working out, the problems, oh my God, why is this happening and things never work out for me? Listen to your thoughts and become the quantum Christ, the conscious creator. Choose what you're thinking. Listen to your feelings. Spend that time going within and listening to who you are and what messages you're putting out. Look at those things that push your buttons. What if the worst things that happen to you are actually the best things? That's what the presence process says. That's what Christ was saying. Look at what's going on. That's what Unity says. God the good omnipotent. Those things that push our buttons are activating our fuel. Where are we going to put that fuel? Look at what you want. So we're going to take a moment now to go within. Just close your eyes. Breathe into this brilliant focal point, your physical body. And start by connecting that quantum Christ with your body. Sending love, gratitude, appreciation for all these cells that work in harmony, for these organs that process the blood and keep everything going without you thinking about it. It's that deeper, fuller, divine mind, divine intelligence that moves through your body. And now visualize that energy moving out into the room, feeling it connecting you with all the other souls in the room, all these kindred spirits. And notice that you can feel that. This is the divine invisible energy that is moving through us in every moment that we can experience just by opening to it. And now be willing to feel and focus that energy as a ball of radiant light and energy that emanates out through the entire building, out into the streets, spilling into this community, radiating out into the world, sending peace and love, or whatever you choose as the conscious creator, as the quantum Christ, to send into this world. Imagine the weapons melting away or turning into bouquets of flowers. Those beautiful songs at the beginning taking us back to that very powerful time in the 60s when we had a growth of consciousness that said, oh my goodness, what if it could just be love? So let's send that love out. Feel it in our hearts, owning and honoring that we are the causal point of our own life. We can choose to consciously be the quantum Christ. And with that energy, we move into our time of giving. And as always, it is never mandatory that you give of your divine substance as money, as funds, and yet we are always glad to take it. But your presence here is the gift. Anything extra that you give is greatly and grandly appreciated and will go to do the divine work of this community. And with that substance, with that action of putting whatever you choose to in the basket today, send forth that vision. Be the quantum Christ to send it forth into your personal life, opening to abundance, to that divine flow of giving and receiving. Allow it to flow out into the world as a sense of love, a trust that I can give, knowing that I will receive, that all this and more will be given to me. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, all that I receive. And I didn't read that exactly, but when we finish up, we'll say that again. And Marvin, can we get you to play something as the basket goes around? And let's send our divine love, energy, with trust and faith that these gifts and these offerings represent the quantum Christ. The trust and faith that we are the creators of our life. We are co-creators with that divine spirit, which is us. And as we send that energy, just take a moment to feel yourself divinely guided and protected by an all-loving spirit. Feel that spirit as your very breath. And we say,